Heartland Highways is made possible in part by
Consolidated Communications offers customers high-speed internet, digital phone service, and digital TV service packages that include high-definition channels, DVR, and hundreds of sports, movies, and music channels. More information on these services is available at consolidated.com.
Just ahead on Heartland Highways, meet Pat Schout, who's raising miniature cows at his farm near Charleston, Illinois.
Then we'll check out the Agriculture and Farm Life collection housed at the Harris Ag Museum in Atwood, Illinois.
Nothing says summer like going to the fair, so we're spending the day at the DuQuion State Fair in Southern Illinois.
That's coming up next on Heartland Highways.
Regular-sized cows can move on over for this story. We met Pat Schout and his neighbor Dan Plummer right here in our hometown of Charleston, Illinois.
This pair raises their own miniature cows, if you can believe that. Take a look for yourself.
No, you don't need to adjust your TV. What you're seeing is what Pat Schout of Hickory Ridge Farms in Charleston, Illinois, considers normal in his line of work. He raises miniature cattle.
Miniature cattle generally are a third to a half of what full-size breeds are. They are going to be in the 500-pound range, and they can go up to 800 pounds depending on what it is. Among people who breed miniatures, a miniature would be classified in the 36 to 42 inch range, and that's measured at the hip. And there's a category below that and a category above that that people recognize as well. If it's 36 inches and under at the hip, they would be referred to as micro miniatures. And if they're in the 42 to 48 inch range, they would be considered mid-size miniatures.
Pat has been raising mini Dexters, Herefords, Jerseys, Belties, and several other breeds for around 3 years now. He said the whole thing started when two separate incidents, his wife getting interested in natural foods and his neighbor wanting to look into the business, ran together.
When we first bought the place here, we had large cows. We had some crossbred cattle and some purebred Herefords. And I had to be away one time on a missions trip to Nigeria, and my wife, for some reason, felt like she needed to go down and feed the cows. She was very, very nervous about it, and she says, I don't like that, and I don't want the children to be around the larger cows. At about that same time, it's amazing how things kind of dovetail, but about that same time my wife was getting into a lot more natural foods, which is one of the reasons we raised our own beef anyway. But she said, boy, I'd sure like to get our own milk. And we did some looking on the internet and found that there was a gentleman up in Arthur who had miniature Jersey cows. I was just interested in getting the milk. Well, after I talked to him and we did some looking, we thought we ought to just get a Jersey cow for ourselves and milk it. And so that was the beginning, really, just I guess curiosity, and then wanting to have our own milk that we knew what we had.
Miniature cow farming has now become a family activity at Hickory Ridge. Pat and his daughter Nellie go out together each day and feed and tend to their herd.
Nellie helps me here. I let her come out with me and feed the animals. And one of the things about miniatures is, especially when they're calves, they're 23 inches tall and about 30 pounds. And so a little one like her can begin to work with animals, and when she gets old enough for 4-H, she'll be showing them as well. And so it's not something that I fear to have her working with a little calf like like a miniature.
There are many reasons to raise miniature cows. Pat says many choose to raise miniature milking cows because they produce 1 to 3 gallons of milk a day compared to a regular cow's 8 to 10 gallons. But it's not just the milk that people raise them for. Some raise the miniature bovine in order to have a smaller portion of beef, and others like them just because they want a nice addition to their small acreage farm.
Another thing that we find is a lot of people want them just for pets. People who have small acreage like to they want to have one out there that they can look at in the pasture. And I like to. I mean, our house is up on the hill there, and it's nice to sit there with a cup of coffee and just look at them. And a lot of people want that. And so we have some breeds like the miniature white park, and the Belties also are a popular one for people that wouldn't even think of eating them, but they would like to have a cow on their farm.
Hickory Ridge Farm gets calls from all over the nation for each of the different breeds on the farm. Pat says he likes to breed to sell, but he still has some favorites he likes to keep around.
The Jersey out there that has the white on her, she just calved a couple weeks ago. Her name is Latte, and she's probably my favorite of them all. And when I'm out in the yard or the pasture doing something, she'll always come up to me and just nudge me. And she'll just keep nudging me until I scratch her or rub her. And so she kind of endeared herself to me a while back.
After spending some time out in the pasture, one question was still on our minds. How do you breed them to be that small? The answer we found out was patience and time.
You try to find some cows or heifers of that particular breed that are exceptionally small. And then most often you'll breed them to either a Dexter or a Zebu or a lowline, which is an Angus type cow. And those cattle, like I said, the Dexters are naturally small, and those cattle will bring down the size. So you want to get a small, the smaller the better, bull of the breeds that I just mentioned. And the trick there is to get the coloring that you want. It's a multi-year process to breed cattle down in size. It's fun though, because you see the calves, you're always expecting, what is it going to be? What's it going to look like? But it takes quite a few years, because not only do you want to get the size down, but then you need to work on conformation. You want to get the features of that particular breed of cattle. And then lastly, you want to get the purity.
The miniature cow business is still in its infancy, so Pat hopes to continue expanding his herd. To him, miniature cows are an utter delight. After all, at the end of the day, home is where the herd is.
From Charleston, we headed north to the small town of Atwood. Since 1999, Roger and Glenna Harris have owned and operated their own museum right next to their business. The Harris Agricultural Museum often takes visitors by surprise for its sheer size and vast collection of items. Take a look for yourself. From traditional farm tractors and equipment to household items of days gone by, the Harris Agricultural Museum has a little bit of everything for everyone. Located on the north end of Atwood within the Harris's business, the museum came about because Roger's restoration projects were getting in the way.
Well, it was the fault of our kids. I would tear a tractor down in one of the other buildings, and just as I got it tore down and everything laid out so I know how it'd go back together, they would decide it was in the road. So they'd throw everything in a box and move it. And that got too big of a hassle, so we just decided to put this building up where I could use it for whatever I wanted to, when I wanted to.
Well, he said he was going to build a little shed to put our stuff in, and this is the little shed.
We just basically started collecting it when we opened it up.
Oh, we collected though. We had it everywhere. We have buildings uptown, so we had it stored in there or out in the country at the farm. A lot of the stuff was his parents. Some of it was my parents. And then we have a lot of donations. You'll see a big book there on the registration desk, and each donator has a page. Some of them have 2 and 3 pages.
It was primarily Glenna who organized all of the items in the museum. The project took about a year to complete and another 4 years to inventory and catalog.
Somebody asked me where I went to school to become a curator for a museum, and I said, I didn't go to school for that. I'm a nurse. I went to school for nursing. And they said, well, then who came in and did all this? And I said, well, I did it. And they said, well, how did you come up with how you did it? I said, well, I just put like things together. The electrical display, there's the filling station display, everything that goes in that area is in that area.
The first floor holds primarily machinery and implements, with each piece being completely usable and operable.
You could take the thrash machine out and thrash oats or wheat. And we have a 1904 Whitman hay press, which was at the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis. And we located it. And of course, it had been outside for years and all rusty. And another fella and I took about 8 or 9 months and completely rebuilt it. And we've baled hay with it at our festival. And then we have a 1919 Model T 1-ton Ford dump truck that we had it completely restored. We didn't monkey with it. And we take it in parades and shows.
The antique tractor collection includes models spanning the years 1922 to 1937, but one model in particular is quite unique.
We have one I-9, which was a military tractor, and it was originally bought by the Navy. It's got a brass tag on the side that says it's property of the U.S. Navy. And as far as we've been able to determine, we haven't found another one in existence.
Neither have we found any kind of manual for it either, or any record of its existence, because when the International Harvester built it for the Navy, they didn't record it, and then when the Navy got rid of it, they threw it away, I guess. Nobody knows where it is.
When they first opened the museum, everything was contained on the first floor, but now the collection has extended to a second level.
Well, we have a 20s kitchen, which features items before electricity. We have a 40s kitchen, which incorporates early electrical appliances. A living room, a bedroom, a child's room with toys. Then we have the elevator office. We have a chicken house, milk house, a barber shop, and a little school room.
While many of the items have been donated by the public, some things come from the Harris family, like Roger's father's barber chair and his grandmother's bedroom set. Just about everywhere you look, there's something interesting. But we spotted something rather curious, a Playboy magazine collection.
Oh, a long time ago I subscribed to Playboy, and now we just lack a few issues of having a complete set from the...
We don't have some of the ones in the beginning. They're hard to find.
And expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
While it is called an agricultural museum, visitors who come here will really find a place that displays a slice of life from days long past.
A lot of this stuff you can't find anymore. And if you can, the price is ridiculous. And a lot of it we couldn't afford to buy now if you found it at an auction or a sale.
All of the items donated to the museum are cataloged and photographed, and in some cases restored.
One fella had an old plow in his barn, an old one bottom horse-drawn plow, and he said his grandpa used it to break the prairie in the late 1800s when he started farming. and he donated it. The wood on it was all rotten, and we had it rebuilt.
The museum is funded mostly by the Harris family, but donations are accepted, and tours are available Monday through Friday or by appointment at other times. If you go, you'll be pleasantly surprised, as we were, by the collection and the hospitality of the museum's owners and operators.
Your adventure could end up right here on Heartland Highways. If you know a person we should meet or a place we should see in Illinois, Indiana, or Missouri, tell us about it. Email us at heartlandhighways@weiu.net, call us at the number on your screen, or write us a letter at 600 Lincoln Avenue, Charleston, Illinois, 61920. We'd love to hear from you.
Leaving Atwood, we headed south for the sights and smells at the annual State Fair. Well, here in Illinois, we're fortunate to have two state fairs, one in our state capital of Springfield and the other in southern Illinois in the community of DuQuion. This fair was the vision of businessman and entrepreneur William R. Hayes. In 1904, William attended the World's Fair in St. Louis, a visit that would change his life and inspire the creation of his own fair.
Mr. Hayes started out with about 30 acres and then purchased the Black Beauty coal mine, which is the hills to the north, about 600 acres up there. And by some accounts, it's the first reclamation project in America, where he went up with his own equipment, contoured what you see, planted his own trees, and made it a park-like area.
Opened in 1923, the DuQuion State Fair started as a horse breeding facility and harness racing venue, a passion of W.R. Hayes. Hayes worked to bring the Hambletonian, harness racing's preeminent event, to DuQuion. From 1957 to 1980, the world's best 3-year-old trotters took to DuQuoin's Magic Mile track. After the Hambletonian left for New Jersey's Meadowlands, the World Trotting Derby was established at DuQuion. In 2008, the $565,000 race was won by Dewey Cheatham and Howe, who also won the Hambletonian that same year. Dewey, as he is known, arrived in first-class trailer accommodations accompanied by a state police escort. Harness racing at all levels continues to be a fairgoer favorite, and it all takes place at one of DuQuoin's original Art Deco-style buildings.
The building we're in front of, the grandstand, was built in the early 40s. The original grandstand was up on 51 up at the west side of the grounds and burnt down. And they actually worked around the clock with lights and every scaffolding all night long to build this. So we have the grandstands, one of the original buildings. The expo hall is one of the original. The roundhouses we see over here, still in use, are original buildings. The paddocks, some of the other horse barns are original buildings.
There were also 2 homes constructed on the fairgrounds by William Hayes.
Mr. Hayes lived in town, and when he was developing this property, he had 2 sons. He had the oldest was Gene, and the youngest was Don. And in the early 40s, he completed those in about 45, I think. He built these 2 houses for his 2 sons, and that's who lived there. The house on the north is called the Hayes House. That is a residence of the governor when he comes down and stays. And some governors use it more than others, but it's used for them and their family. The house on the south was purchased from the Hayes family by Mayor Rednar, the mayor of the city of DuQuion, and his family's lived in there since I think maybe the middle 70s.
The Hayes family eventually sold the fair, which today is owned and operated by the state of Illinois. Even though it was a privately owned fair for 63 years, it's always been referred to as a state fair.
One thing of interest, it has always been called the DuQuion State Fair. When Mr. Hayes started it in 1923, it was the DuQuion State Fair at that time, and once the state purchased the property, they maintained that name.
Today, it's the Department of Agriculture that actually runs the fair. One thing that Kate and I noticed right away was how beautiful the grounds are. Just one of the many special features at DuQuion.
The thing that makes DuQuion a little different than most state fairs, I think, is that as you see, the Art Deco, the open areas, we have 28 lakes and ponds on the grounds. We have lots of green grass, we have lots of trees. It's a much more relaxed country setting than a lot of the bigger fairs. And we like that, we're very proud of that.
The north section of the fairgrounds is the campground area, part of W. Hayes' original reclamation project. Away from the hustle of fair activities, you'll find 1,000 hookup campsites and unlimited primitive camping. During fair time, you can catch water ski shows and tournaments on Longcut Lake. These lakes and ponds are leftovers from the time when this land was a strip mine. But if you're here for that traditional fair experience, well, of course DuQuion has that too. Food, free entertainment, carnival rides, demonstrations, livestock judging, and horse shows take place during this 11-day event.
And they're off and pacing. A gypsy kick with Freddie Finn drive out for the early lead.
My favorite part of the fair is the fair experience. You know, you come out here to the fair, it's the lights, it's the sounds, it's the smells, it's the people, it's the whole fair experience. I can't really say that I have one favorite part. I dearly enjoy the horse racing. I love the cattle shows. I love the automobile racing. I like all of it. I don't like to ride the rides because I get sick, but it's a family experience, and that's what I enjoy about it.
The fair always comes to a close on Labor Day, but that certainly doesn't mean the fairgrounds will go unused until next year.
We were fortunate. We used the fairgrounds last year about 220 days for events from motorcycle racing to car racing to demolition derbies, national camping rallies, horse shows, rodeos, all types of things. And matter of fact, our first non-fair event is 1 week after the fair, and crew staff here is just amazing. We have 14 full-time people, and we'll grow to about 350 until the last week of the fair, after the fair, and then we start back with our non-fair events.
Founder W.R. Hayes often said, if you're going to do something, do it all the way, and that's still evident today. His original 30-acre fairgrounds has grown to 1,200 acres, with 30 miles of winding roads. The traditions established here continue today, alongside new attractions and events, making this a place for everyone, and truly one of Illinois' treasures. My only regret about the DuQuion State Fair is we didn't get to spend as much time as we would have liked, which means only one thing: we're going back next year.
Sounds good, I'm up for it. That's all the time we have this week from Flesser's Candy Kitchen in Tuscola.
Thanks for joining us for Heartland Highways.
Heartland Highways is made possible in part by
Consolidated Communications offers customers high-speed internet, digital phone service, and digital TV service packages that include high-definition channels, DVR, and hundreds of sports, movies, and music channels. More information on these services is available at consolidated.com.
Okay. Did I get my funny face in?
2, 2, 1, go.
You're going to story. We met Pat Schout and his neighbor Dan Plummer. Is that his name? Sorry.
Yes. Take a look for yourself.
That was not in the shot.
That's all the time we have from Flesser's Candy Kitchen in Tuscola.
Bye.